The Rip City Drive.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad and Godfather. We've been talking about NIL and how it's changing the landscape in college sports, and we're very happy to welcome in studio two guys who have started up the preferred collective for Oregon State. I'm talking about Dick Oldfield and Kyle Bjornstad, who are in studio right now. Guys, welcome to the show. It's so exciting to have you on and talk about NIL and, more important, the Damn Nation Collective.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having us today. We are excited to be here. We've been working on it for a while, but we have been officially up and going for literally 1 month. We started November 10th, so things are happening fast here.
Well, Dick, we'll start with you. Kind of give us the background. How did the Damn Nation Collective come to be? How did it start?
Well, you know what? Kyle and I have worked together. I retired from Nike about a year and a half ago, and Kyle and I worked together on the student athlete board. That was one of his things that he did working at Oregon State. And so we've known each other for a while and saw this opportunity now that we both have left. He left Oregon State, I left Nike, and we saw this as a huge need for Oregon State athletes. So it literally started early this fall. We got together and started putting this thing together.
You know, I'm going to be the guy that asks stupid questions today. Usually it is Chad, but today it's going to be me because I'm not educated on this. So I'm going to ask you some pretty basic questions, I think. But first of all, are there rules out there about what you can do, how you can do it, who you can talk to? Give me some sort of a boundary issue here. What can and can't you do in terms of finances for these athletes?
Well, that's a great question. Yes, it's important for people to know there are rules.
Yeah.
Just like there always have been in the NCAA. And, you know, Dick mentioned we rolled this out about a month ago, but we had been working on it for months prior to that. And a lot of it is researching what you can do, but more importantly, what you can't do.
Sure.
Because, you know, you're talking to two Oregon Staters, two former student athletes, and the last thing we want to do as a collective is to do anything to jeopardize what Oregon State is doing and what Oregon State is all about. So that's one. In this NIL space, really what is allowed is student athletes now can use their name, image, and likeness to promote their own brands. Whether they want to be an entrepreneur and start a business, they could do things like that. But they can also now promote other brands, other businesses that there's alignment with, or businesses that want to be associated with an Oregon State student athlete. And so it is allowed. And so what we want to do, to go back to your point, is make sure that we're doing it all within the box that the NCAA has, allowed to happen. What you can't do, though, and I think this is really important, is you can't use NIL to entice athletes to come to your school.
That's just what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Because I keep hearing that that's what's being done, and I think you guys can enlighten me on whether or not it actually is. Let me add something onto that question, though. Can you use it to keep somebody there? For instance, you got a guy who could turn pro, for example, but you'd like to keep him there one more year. Can you do that?
Yeah. So, and where our philosophy really originates is around the kids that are on campus. It's the retention piece. So what are we allowed to do? We're allowed to work with Oregon State student athletes in the NIL space. It is a form of retention to give them opportunities that we believe they have earned. Mm-hmm. You know, they're in good academic standing. They're on the roster. They're doing all the right things, staying out of trouble, and they have these interests. So we can help them with that. But back to that other point is no, by NCAA rule, you cannot use it as an enticement. Hey, you come here, you will get this. That is illegal.
Oh.
It is illegal.
Please tell some of those SEC schools that that's illegal, would you?
Well, but that is the perception. So with the transfer portal, can a collective talk to a student that's in the portal that may have interest in going to Oregon State or another school?
No, we don't touch them till they are on campus. So, now you hope that a kid who's in the transfer portal that's interested in Oregon State is going to be checking out the collective to see what opportunities there are in NIL, just as they investigate the school and the team and the coaches and all that kind of stuff. but we don't touch them until they get on campus, and then at that point we can provide some great opportunities for them.
Now, if there's a student that has interest in jumping in the portal and going to Oregon State, can someone let them know, hey, once you get on campus, we've got the Damnation Collective who are doing a great job of working with athletes. Is it okay to let people know that the Damnation Collective is active and doing a terrific job without any specific offers being made to that student in the portal?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so we hope by starting out and getting some deals with our current athletes that are on board and are staying on board, then that kind of helps spread kind of what we're all about and what we're doing.
We believe that what we're building will speak for itself ultimately. I mean, NIL is the number one thing right now in collegiate athletics. It's not going to slow down. And by doing our job with the students while they're on campus, will speak for itself. As people are in the portal, as they're looking, they will be able to look at Oregon State and say, hey, I can go there and I'll have opportunity.
All right, one more question about other schools who may have interest. You know, like Oregon State's interesting because Jonathan Smith has done a terrific job of getting players in, coaching them up, and then they start to come to prominence with the Beavs. But another school may notice a player at Oregon State and say, hey, I like that guy. We can offer him more than maybe what they are with our collective, and then they reach out and try to poach players off the roster. Who is policing that to make sure that everything is above board and players on Oregon State aren't being picked off with a more lucrative NIL deal?
Well, it's a tough thing to police, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, very tough thing to police. And
The answer is nobody is policing it, right?
well, good point. Good point. I mean, it is really, really hard. And so, you know, the thing about Oregon State that I believe wholeheartedly, and I've been associated in one form or fashion since I was a student athlete until this past June when we started going on this, is it's all about culture. It's Oregon State is a place where we have great coaches, great administrators, great support around these athletes. And this is just one more thing we can provide to them while they're on campus. And our belief is truly, it's like when you recruit them. If you could get them to Corvallis with their parents, they'll fall in love with the place. They've got a great support system around them. And if you could take care of them while they're on campus, why would they leave? I honestly believe that. And I know Dick does as well. So we'll do our part in that to make sure that they feel good and taken care of while they're here.
Okay, I got to get into this subject too. I keep hearing about sums of money being thrown around. Oh, the quarterback at such and such a school is getting $2 million this year, that kind of thing. I don't know if it's true or not, but is there a going rate now? Is there a certain standard for certain positions that you're hearing you have to meet in order to get these guys?
No, really, I think most of what we read, like a lot of things in sports, is inflated out there. And I think a lot of these potential deals that you read about or hear about are really inflated. I mean, we have to do our due diligence to make sure that some of these opportunities for kind of the upper echelon of athletes are worthy, right? And so we look for these situations or these opportunities where we can really help them out. But what we've kind of heard and then found out is that a lot of these things are way overinflated.
We're talking with Dick Oldfield and Kyle Bjornstad, the co-founders of the Damnation Collective here on the Rip City Drive. What's been the response of Beaver boosters, supporters, once you have gotten the Damnation Collective up? What's been the response and the people's willingness to donate and help out the cause?
The response has been tremendous. Since we've launched, whether it's inquiries from businesses or individuals just wanting to learn more, because it still is a newer concept and people are wrapping their heads around it. So we talk a lot about being in the education phase of it. There's been a lot of that outreach. We have over 200 individuals, families, or businesses that have contributed to Damnation in the last month, which is fantastic. We really want to do this, a grassroots effort. That's what Oregon State's about, Beaver Nation rallying together. And there are people, our beginning membership level is $100, but we're going to do some fun things. After the Oregon game, we brought that back to $38.34 to represent the score, and it just went crazy. So there's a lot of excitement.
That was genius, by the way. I like that.
It was pretty fun. It was fun. So, so the response has been great, and we want to continue with the momentum for sure.
I'd like to ask you this too. What are you allowed to do other than the strict financial part of this? Are there other things you can do as part of this package of helping kids out while they're at OSU?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because I think what our mission is, and the thing that Kyle and I are excited about doing, and the reason a lot of our investors, and then we have some former Beaver greats that are ambassadors for us too, like Steven Jackson, Gary Payton too, awesome. Michaela Pivik. I mean, we have a host of them. They believe in the mission, and the mission is, hey, helping student athletes in the long run. So not looking for a quick short-term deal, a quick thing to just kind of get a paycheck, because they are employees under NIL rules, but really help them kind of in the long run. So whether it's investment advice, whether it's helping them in their major or something that they want to do when their playing days are over, it's really important to us to kind of help kind of prepare them for the future as they kind of get out into the real world beyond Oregon State.
And one of the key parts of your relationship with the school and how you're going to help these athletes is your relationship with Learfield. And it goes much beyond just money or opportunities you can present to the kids, but it's the relationships, right? Can you talk about that relationship with Learfield and how you see that going in the future, and how that's really a powerful thing that you're going to be able to provide for the student athletes moving forward?
Yeah, it is powerful. That's a great word to describe it. As we put this together, that was one of the first things we kind of set our sights on was that partnership. When you think about just from the perspective of getting this up and going, there are businesses that are associated with Oregon State already through the Learfield, partnership that they have. And so all of a sudden now we're sitting at the same table as those businesses, and doesn't that make great sense? Yeah. They've already self-identified as Oregon State sponsors. They're businesses that you'd think right away it would make a lot of sense to bring some student athletes to the table, help them promote, and so it is a powerful, powerful tool, and one that we're really excited to continue to grow on as we build this.
Guys, I would think creativity is an important part of this piece, because you have to figure out ways for these athletes to generate the money, things they can do to earn it, theoretically at least. What's the most unusual, or what kind of things have you come up with as a part of this?
Well, we're in this story building stage. So I spent 36 years at Nike basically becoming a storyteller. I mean, I worked in footwear for 36 years in a lot of different categories. And so one of the most fun parts of working with a company like Nike is the creativeness, like you brought up. And so being able to take that now and start to work on these stories, if you want to call them, because it's helping them kind of tell their brand with different companies is becoming a big part. And so you'll start seeing that in mid-January, right after the transfer portal ends, and you'll start to see a lot of these stories kind of come to life with these different student athletes. So we're in the story building phase right now, which is a lot of fun.
And Kyle, maybe you can speak to this. I think for maybe the older generation out there that's been, big college football, college basketball fans for years, I think they think of this NIL thing, and it's hard for them to wrap their mind around it, right? Because it's been the same way for so long. Most of these college athletes that are going to get plugged in with these NIL opportunities, it's not about becoming super rich right away, right? You can speak to this because you played basketball with the Bees. These college athletes in a lot of situations in the past didn't have a lot of money to live on, to eat on, and now you're giving them an opportunity to capitalize off their name, image, and likeness just to have money to be able to live and survive while they're on campus, right? As they continue their experience in Corvallis.
Yeah, I mean, Dick talked about it earlier. A lot of what you read and a lot of the commentary right now about NIL is these inflated deals. Are they true? Are they not? But the reality is that, this isn't a get rich quick type of a situation. I go back to when I was on campus, and you could sit in a business class, right? And I could have a really good idea or a business that I want to start, but because I'm a student athlete, I couldn't. But somebody next to me may have a similar idea, and they could go start it immediately, promote it, use their name, and so what it comes down to is it is a new concept. There's a lot of conversation around it, but there is a right way to do it. And that's what we're focused on, is these true, intentional opportunities to create within these boundaries And it's the right thing to do. And we're going to be steadfast in providing those opportunities and doing it right.
And Kyle, there's a lot of athletes at Oregon State, females, males, whatever, and they're all playing a variety of sports. How many of them are you able and going to be able to take care of with NIL? Is everybody going to get in on this, or how do you make those decisions on who gets it, who doesn't? That seems like a difficult proposition to me.
Yeah, I think one of our founding, building blocks on this is we wanted to be a collective for all of Oregon State student athletes. So we will work with and represent every sport, every team. Obviously, a lot of it is dictated on the resources that we're able to bring in, which is really decided by investors and businesses and what they're interested in. But our mission and our goal is to work with every sport or every athlete if they have an interest in this space. We want to find those opportunities.
They can earmark funds for a certain athlete in a certain sport, or just a certain sport?
It's more of a certain sport, certain sport for sure. Okay. And then we work within that sport to find, again, intentional opportunities that make sense.
Yeah. How important is football when it comes to the entire scene for the collective and everything? Because we hear about football being the cash cow. Is that true? How important is football in the grand scheme?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Football really drives the bus for an intercollegiate athletic department. There's obviously a very strong following to football. And so, it really leads the charge for a department. And again, there's a lot of interest around football. And so that's where we're spending a lot of our time right now. We started this in November. It's during football season. The portal's open right now, and there's so much focus on that. But there is a time throughout the year for all sports when they're competing or after season. But football's obviously a big one.
Yeah, and I think we've all seen those figures, though, too, that football drives the bus, but football can also lift the rest of the tent, right? Yeah. So it helps all the other sports on campus. We see it help schools on campus, whether it's engineering, business, or the arts department. So, we know that's very, very important. But again, our goal is to help all athletes in all sports. So we see that as a big positive.
Yeah, and you talk about retention of athletes on campus. And I think football, there is some of that in football. But you look at basketball and baseball, which is a very important sport on your campus, many more opportunities for players to leave early than there is in football. And so I would see NIL being pretty popular with your coaches in that sport in terms of trying to retain their players for an extra year or two.
Yeah. No, that's a huge deal. And like you said, if you look across Oregon State sports, there are a lot of successful sports on campus right now. So every coach probably has a list of at least a few athletes that are really important for them to enjoy their stay, get a great education. They're having a great experience on the field or on the court, and some NIL opportunities will help keep them there too.
All right, so there are a lot of Beaver fans that listen to the show. What do you guys need from Beaver Nation to get the Damn Nation Collective where you need it to be? How can they support it? Is it money? Is it something else? What are the resources you need from people out there, even people who maybe don't have millions in the bank but still want to be a part of making the Damn Nation Collective what it needs to be to get the athletes the opportunities that we all want to see them have?
Yeah, again, it's really all about the strength in numbers in Beaver Nation. It's everybody getting involved at whatever level they're able, whether it's a single individual, a family, or somebody that owns a business that might, even if you just don't quite know or understand it yet, reach out. We would love to have the conversation and see if it's a fit for you. But it's all about this community building. It's what Beaver Nation's all about. And so we talk a lot about committing to this rally, because Beaver Nation is really on the upswing right now. Obviously, that starts with football and all the things that are going on there. But like Dick said, it's across the board. And so, committing to the rally, joining forces with us, and let's continue to grow this thing together.
What is the value of having student athletes? Like with the businesses you've talked to, maybe in the Corvallis area or in the surrounding area, how much do they value having those student athletes involved in possibly doing something with their business? What do they see? How do they see that?
It is in its infancy stage. I mean, and so there are a lot of businesses just starting to get to know and get to know us, but more importantly, get to know the student athletes. And what we're excited to find out so far is we're hearing just as much from like regional and national brands as we are from local brands. So I think everyone's kind of on the education phase right now. And we're hoping again, like as we get into 2023 and get more people on board, we're really excited to start providing some of these opportunities out there.
Did you ever think 20, 30 years ago we'd be having this conversation?
No, 5 years ago I didn't think about it. Honestly, guys, there was money being exchanged, but no one was talking about it. I can tell you that.
Well, I just think it's awesome, man. I think it's great that the student athletes now have a chance to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. This is a beautiful thing, and I think it's got a chance to be great even for schools like Oregon State, for these student athletes to go there and have a chance to now capitalize on opportunities that are in front of them, that it's above board. Like, I just think it's awesome. I'm excited to see where you guys are going to take this.
No, I just wanted to say I was a scholarship athlete, in track back in the day. And even on scholarship, I survived on mac and cheese and frozen pizzas. So, helping provide these athletes a little bit better, at least diet, is huge for us.
Yeah. How much were you allowed to work? What were the stipulations on if you wanted to have a job while you were a student athlete? There's certain limitations to what you had in the past, right?
Well, one, if you had time. There's things that you just
between practice and schoolwork and everything.
Summer school, all that stuff. I mean, there really just wasn't much opportunity. I mean, even thinking about working a basketball camp, that is using your name, image, and likeness. So there's things that you just couldn't do.
Yeah.
And so
you're drawing the kids to the camp because you're a part of it, but you can't even get paid for it.
You don't get a piece of it.
Yeah, so it's a different deal. It's a different world. And the one thing I'd like to add too is just as we're meeting with these athletes, I think the coolest part about this whole deal is when people are going to be able to actually see the other side of them. We're talking about these are great individuals. They're thoughtful. They have really good ideas. They want to get involved. And we've talked about businesses and companies getting involved. Mm-hmm. But the other thing we need to really think about is just the community building, working with nonprofits that they might be, really interested in, working with kids. There are so many stories in this realm that people can't even grasp yet. And it's our job, like Dick said, to bring these stories to life and get to know these student athletes for who they are, not just the number on their jersey. And that's the exciting part about this, that we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
They're right. I mean, there are a lot of athletes who, they get labeled a certain way, but there's a lot of guys out there that would love to be a part of, maybe get their foundation going so they can help out the community or help out kids or whatever the cause is.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've interviewed college athletes at your school and others and thought, wow, this kid's got a future in whatever it is he wants to do. Maybe not the sport he's playing.
Just think back to when we went down there before football season.
Oh, absolutely.
Every single player we met with on the football team, we walked away blown away by how unique of an individual they were.
Personality, charisma, all those things
Smart
that help
guys.
you be a success. And this gives them a chance to get in the community and kind of give that a test drive,
Every time I get bummed out about, what's going on in the real world, go down to the college campus and hang out with student athletes, and it restores your faith in the future, like you guys are saying.
Hey, by the way, just between the people in this room, how did it feel for you guys to watch Oregon State come back and beat Oregon? Did you enjoy that just a tad?
So born and raised in Eugene, right?
Yeah.
One of our first moves was, and third quarter, I'm a Beaver through and through, but I'm thinking to myself, man, and we put up our first billboard less than a mile from Autzen Monday of rivalry week.
Yeah. And
I'm thinking, ooh, was that the right move? Did I jinx this thing? But I tell you what an awesome situation to be a part of in Reeser that day. That was amazing.
Are situations like that good for the Damnation Collective? Like, does that type of win help to motivate people to want to get more involved so they can have more experiences like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the easy answer. Just
phone was ringing a lot on that Monday, I bet.
Yeah. That 38-34 thing blew up pretty quick. So.
All right, Dick Oldfield and Kyle Bjornstad here in studio. It's the Rip City Drive. Is there anything else that we did not hit on that you guys want to communicate in regards to the Damnation Collective, the preferred collective of Oregon State University?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
How did you get that label? Like the preferred collective? Like, that's a big deal. Like, how did that come to be?
That really comes through the partnership with Learfield, because we are a partner with Learfield, thus Oregon State.
You're certified now.
That's right.
Well, you got anything else, Godfather?
No, I've enlightened. I've learned a lot, and I appreciate that from you guys.
But what are the rules? I mean, you guys talk about the rules. I've yet to find a specific list of rules for what you can and cannot do. Isn't it weird because a collective is separate from the school, so you guys are your own entity. So I don't understand how the NCAA can really. They're almost hands off, right? It's an interesting setup after what the Supreme Court ruled. So it's almost like it's a hands off deal where the NCAA doesn't want to get involved. So how does that work exactly?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the NCAA has been very hands-off, which is, you've heard a lot of people refer to it as a wild, wild west out there.
That's what it appears to be.
Now, there are state laws and state regulations, so state by state has the ability to set up some rules or laws that kind of help govern what student athletes can and can't do, and that's what we have to kind of adhere to for the state of Oregon and other areas. So that governs it, and then they're hoping that nationally you can kind of level set and create some consistency across those states going forward, which would be, I think, very good for everyone involved.
All right, you guys, you just sparked another question. Will you have resources in place for the student athletes who maybe aren't aware of how taxes work and how that could be a major problem for them moving forward?
I was going to ask that because that worried me the first time I heard it. I hope these kids know how to report this income.
Because if you're getting 1099 and you're thinking, dude, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden the tax bill comes, you're like, what's going on here? Like, that's scary.
Yeah, and that is one of, again, what we have focused on as we built this thing is putting this education component around these athletes. That's a big one. We talked to all the athletes about that. Is what does this mean as you get a check for taxes? Let's put people around you, and a lot of them are ambassadors.
Yes.
We've got a former All-American gymnast who works with Edward Jones and has a very strong financial background, and she will meet with these athletes, whether over the phone, on Zoom, and just, what does this actually mean? Hey, this is your money. You can do what you want with it, but let's talk about maybe how you save or how you invest and how you build that as you go. So there's a lot of those types of components that we want to put around these athletes that, we don't even have to do, but it's the right thing to do. And we want to provide them with those educational resources for sure.
That is terrific. And what I like too is that you're not making promises that can't be fulfilled. You're talking to the athletes when they arrive, what's reasonable, what can be done. So it's not promises that are being thrown out there that you have no plans on following through on. They're going to be taken care of.
The worst thing you can do in this space is overpromise, underdeliver. I mean, it's the absolute, for us, for Oregon State,
because it'll ruin your reputation and word will travel and they'll be like, hey, you can't trust them. You don't want that.
Nope.
All right, so how do people get in touch? If people want to support, they want to get involved, what are the best ways to get in touch with Damnation Collective?
Yeah, the best way is jump on our website. We have a lot of information on the website. It's www.damnationcollective.com.
That's DAM.
DAM. Yes.
That kind of damn.
Yes. DAM Nation Collective.com. A lot of information on there. There's a way to get involved by supporting the collective on there. But there's also, again, where we've have a lot of fun is people who are connecting with us through our website. Contact us now. Let's have a conversation. Like, how can people get involved? It's not about just signing up and committing with dollars. Let's talk about how we could take this further. So that would be the first stop.
That's an important distinction. It's not just about dollars. You're looking for help in a lot of different ways. People can reach out, and then you can have a conversation and get them plugged in the right way.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. These guys know what they're talking about, Godfather.
Yeah. Boy, we were born too soon. I'll tell you that. God.
Imagine what you could have done in Portland State with some of the NIL money,
Oh,
Godfather.
yeah. I would have gotten tons of money. Yeah.
All right, Dick Oldfield and Kyle Bjornstad, co-founders of the Damnation Collective here on the Rip City Drive. Guys, we look forward to more conversations in the future.
Thank you very much.
Well done.